Acknowledgement of country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. I would also like to pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I am Nomad. Our immigrant story, in episode 16, Elena will be assisting with the presentation. And of course, you have me, Nomad, presenting. Enjoy the adventure.
In this following immigration story, we used a variety of resources to create the final story. These resources covered passenger details, libraries, Queensland State Archives, and various genealogical websites like Find My Past, along with various newspaper sources.
Using the information gathered and having located the details of the ship and passenger list from Find My Past, we were able to reconstruct the possible route the ship took from London to Brisbane. Using the ship's name, we researched British and Australian newspapers to do this process. From here, using this information found, tracking the ship's journey from departure to its destination.
Some assumptions are made relating to what may have occurred before and during the journey. These are noted within the story. Here is the story of Nomad's great-grandparents and his grandfather, then just 1-year-old.
This wasn't their first attempt to leave. They had been listed on an earlier ship, but every one of their names appears on that passenger list with a line struck through it. Why? We don't know.
It is thought that organizing a household of this size for departure would take some time. The packing a home, arranging affairs, saying goodbyes would have taken considerable time and effort, regardless of what any individual felt about it. There was one thing in their favor: Nomad's great-grandmother's brother was already settled in the Mackay district. Whatever they were sailing toward, at least someone there would know them.
Their journey from East Anglia may have been by train down to London to board their ship. It is unknown if any family members travelled with them to see them off on their epic journey across the seas. Just 6 months earlier, in April 1912, the Titanic had sunk on her maiden voyage with great loss of life. It was the story of the year, still being investigated by the British Board of Trade's inquiry as my great-grandparents prepared to sail.
It would be reasonable to think a family boarding a ship so soon after the Titanic disaster would have had it somewhere in their minds, though there is no way to know what, if anything, they actually said or felt about it.
On Saturday, 26th of October, 1912, the Waipara left London from Shed 28 at the Royal Albert Docks prior to taking on passengers at Gravesend. There were 368 people aboard. Most were English, with smaller numbers of Scots, Irish, Welsh, Danes, and 1 Finn. Among them, a family of 7. A 1-year-old boy who would grow up on the other side of the world from where he was born. By Tuesday, 29th of October, the ship was off Lizard Point, Cornwall. It had been a good early run. Then came the Bay of Biscay and rougher water. It seems to be common knowledge that crossing the Bay of Biscay can be hazardous for ships. The Waipara held her course down the Portuguese coast, through the Strait of Gibraltar and into the Mediterranean, reaching Port Said on Saturday, 9th of November. The ship took on provisions at Port Said and, by Sunday the 10th, entered the Suez Canal, through to the Red Sea, passing Perim on Friday the 15th of November.
Crossing the Arabian Sea, the Waipara diverted 300 miles to avoid a cyclone and to minimize any discomfort for passengers. The day before reaching Colombo, a passenger, Mr. Caulfield, died of typhoid and was buried at sea. He left a widow and 4 young children, who continued the journey without him. The ship's medical officer, Dr. Campbell, confirmed no further cases had occurred. It was thought Mr. Caulfield had been infected before he had boarded the ship.
The Waipara docked at Colombo on Sunday, the 24th of November, and departed the following day. From here, the ship struck out across open water toward Australia. It is unknown if the passengers and crew celebrated crossing the line. From all reports found, this tradition occurs when a ship crosses the equator. For the Waipara, this would have occurred sometime in the 16-day period following, since the vessel was sighted at Thursday Island on Tuesday, the 10th of December. The ship reached Cairns on Thursday, the 12th of December, but her draft, 25 feet, was unable to berth at the wharf. She lay at anchor offshore and departed the following evening. On Saturday, the 14th of December, the Waipara arrived at Townsville. Cargo was unloaded. largely Christmas goods, along with a 13-ton steam tractor engine for a Mr. Dean of the Horton River, which was to be used to erect the Robertson's foundry. My great-grandparents and their family disembarked from the Waipara. They transferred onto another vessel, the Kiara, which left Townsville on Monday the 16th of December and reached Mackay the following evening. 52 days after leaving London, a family of 7, including a 1-year-old boy, had reached their destination on the other side of the world.
Since Nomad's great-grandmother's brother, and possibly some of his family, may have been there to meet them, as he was already living in the district. From Mackay, the family may have traveled on to Finch Hatton, where he lived. This may have been by train. Train services from Mackay to Finch Hatton began after the line was opened in September 1904. However, assumptions have been made as it is unknown if these events occurred.
My family's journey ended in Mackay. The Waipara's did not. She continued south, docking at Port Alma on the 20th of December, where 950 tons of general merchandise was unloaded. The widow and 4 children of Mr. Caulfield disembarked along with 7 others and travelled by train into Rockhampton.
On Christmas Eve, a child was born aboard the ship, and on Christmas Day itself, the Waipara reached her final port, Brisbane, where 277 passengers came ashore. By most accounts, passengers were satisfied with the voyage: good food if not always well cooked, cramped quarters for the single men, sports and concerts to pass the time.
But a few days later, detectives were at the South Brisbane wharf. Luggage had been pilfered. 2 arrests were made. A fireman, George True, was later convicted and sentenced to a year's hard labour.
What else may have gone missing on that voyage, or what else True may have done? The record doesn't say.
A story that still and always will have some unknowns. As has been said, assumptions have been made from what is known and the possible outcomes. I have told this in the story.
The story was not just about they boarded a ship in London, which then ended up in Mackay, Queensland. Adding context provides a more interesting readable story and brings the journey alive.
Just a reminder, trivia entries close on Monday, 31st of August. You can download the trivia answer template, which is shown in the description. If you are having any issues, copy and paste it into your browser. Once completed, return it to us by email. Our email address can be found in the description. 3 trivia questions appeared in each episode from episode 3, published on 11th of February 2026. There are 39 questions in all over the series. Good luck. Next time, we shall be creating another story of the journey of my Scottish great-grandmother. She arrived in Queensland back in 1889. Her journey was similar to this story. Hopefully, you will find it interesting and provides you with ideas for your own ancestor stories. See you in 2 weeks. Remember, have fun and start writing your stories. Explore and discover. With all of us here, we would be delighted for you to join our family. I am sure you know the drill. Click like, subscribe, and of course, please make a comment.